What are you doing, Kian?
Nothing.
Just say you're lying.
Alrighty. Welcome to the Collective Voice TV show on Shaw TV, or otherwise known as CVTV. Collective Voice is a program for grade 9 students at Aden Bowman Collegiate. Collective Voice is a creative classroom that focuses on learning the curriculum through a social justice lens. I am one of your hosts, Kian.
I'm your other host, Ethan. Today we'll be asking the question, do schools prepare students to be active and engaged citizens?
A question like this has more than a simple answer.
So today you'll see many different segments and interviews to further explore this topic.
Let's watch our first segment featuring Gwen and Lucy. They'll be interviewing students from Aden Bowman Collegiate on their opinions about this topic.
What's up, guys? We're here at Aden Bowman. I'm Lucy.
And I'm Gwen. And today we're asking our fellow students, what kind of citizen has Aden Bowman made you?
So let's go.
Hi, I'm here with Daisy Spadell, a grade 10 student at Aden Bowman Collegiate. We just ran into her at the library.
Today we are going to be asking, what kind of citizen has your education taught you to be, and how has it done this?
Well, I think the education system just helped me become more righteous in a way and look at my Indigenous point of view differently than how I used to, especially in high school. So I'm now actually Miss Manitowabi from May 2017, and so I wear a ribbon skirt every day, and I also have a crown and sash that I have to wear. And so having that title, I have to talk with a whole bunch of youth, and I have to inspire them in a way. And so education is a really big part of that. And so when Indigenous topics come inside school, there's a really lack of education there. And so that kind of made me question more and motivate me to be more like, why? And ask questions and, and think differently inside schooling and, and add more to my assignments from my Indigenous point of view and just put more of my spin on everything that I do inside school.
So you mentioned your ribbon skirts. Would you care to explain why you wear them?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I am princess, and so when I was crowned my title, about 2 days after I was crowned, I chose to wear ribbon skirts every day. And what the meaning behind it was, I wanted to represent missing and murdered Indigenous women in a different way. And by wearing ribbon skirts every day, I'm socially popular because everyone's like, why are you wearing that? And what are you doing with that on? And aren't you cold? So I get a lot of questions about it, and that's just a part of raising awareness for the topic that I represent. And this ribbon skirt, it signifies the beauty of women inside Indigenous culture, and so that's why I wanted to wear them every day.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Thank you, Daisy.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, Tayam, can we ask you a question?
Sure.
So what kind of citizen has your education shaped you into?
Stop. Okay, cool. I don't know. Personally, elementary school wasn't exactly very fundamental for me. I don't think that really had a whole lot of effect on my quality of citizenship, but I think high school for sure, going into Collective Voice, not to promo it, but I think Collective Voice in grade 9 definitely taught me a lot of stuff that I don't personally think I would have gotten in just regular stream schooling, because I remember in CV they taught us all about being independent and just being reliant on ourselves, and all of that work shouldn't be channeled through our teacher and relying on that. It should be we were doing it for ourselves, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And I think a lot of teachers in our school, I think our school system has definitely gotten better with doing that, and learning that different kids have different ways of thinking, and kids learn differently, and I definitely think as a school system we're learning how to adapt to that. But for sure there are I've definitely had teachers in classes where it has been kind of lacking, if you know what I mean. And I definitely think I'm saying definitely a lot, whoops. Yeah, our school system's on the right track for sure with all these special programs like SEED and Collective Voice and Media School, and I just think it's really awesome that we're coming up with all these new programs for different ways kids are thinking. But yeah, I just think all progress.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much, Ty.
No problem.
After talking to our fellow students,
We found that here at Aden Bowman, we have very active citizens.
until next time.
Back to the studio.
Thanks, Gwen and Lucy.
Wow, wasn't it so interesting to hear what high school students from Aden Bowman had to say on being an active and engaged citizen?
Our next segment will feature Hunter and Tania. They'll be showing us what ingredients it takes to bake up a batch of active and engaged citizens.
Take it away, Hunter and Tania.
Hello everyone and welcome to our cooking show. I'm Tania.
And I'm Hunter. Today we're going to show you how to be an actively involved, learning, engaged citizen.
So we will show you the ingredients to successfully make a batch of educated citizens. So let's roll into making and baking an active and engaged citizen.
First of all, Tania, can you quickly explain to me what an active citizen is?
Yes, I sure can, Hunter. An active citizen is an ordinary person that takes an interest in your community. An active citizen gives their say as a resident and they part in decisions that affect you. So it's basically just ordinary people making things happen.
That's pretty neat. If we both wanted to create and be an active, engaged, educated citizen, how could we be one?
Well, Hunter, I'm super glad you asked, because sculpting an involved citizen is just like baking a sweet, educated batch of chocolate chip cookies.
So I'm gonna start our oven to 350 degrees so, we can just get our brains filled with warm and steamy knowledge.
Hunter, where the heck would we discover any of this citizenship knowledge from?
Schools, of course. Without schools, how would we have any real understanding of our world? School shapes us with our worldview and stuffs us with knowledge about our current and past events in our ongoing generation.
But enough of that. Let's get into making the cookies.
So for any good citizen, we need a good base. Our base is influenced with strong roots. Our base today is going to be our flour. This represents you. As an active citizen, you participate in everything in your community. You follow rules, obey laws, and help out in your community.
You are influenced by many people in your life. You need certain things to be added to you. As we go along a recipe, you will learn what needs to be added to you to become a good, active citizen.
Next, we need our brown sugar. The brown sugar in this is like your family. Your family is a big part of you and influence you a lot. Every family has different beliefs and values, and those will help you when becoming a good citizen. They're an important aspect of you because they will help you shape as a citizen.
Next is our margarine. This is like your schooling. It is a big part of how you become a citizen. Your school teaches you the basics. They teach you the laws and the rules you have to abide by every day. Your schooling will teach you the things that are right and wrong for a good citizen to do, as well as the things you should do to stay a good citizen.
We need a cup of white sugar now. This is almost like what you can do for your community. You follow the rules, you help in community events. Helping in the community events and following the rules will help you build good and strong relationships inside of your community.
We need to add our baking soda and salt now. These are like the government and the rules you have to follow to become a citizen. You learn these from your schooling. The rules and laws you abide by are very important, so you don't get into any trouble. Now we're going to get into the more liquid ingredients. These are a little messy. We need 1 egg. An egg is like your roots, where you live. Where you live can have a major impact on you. Being a good citizen is different everywhere. That means if you move, you might have to learn new rules and abide by different laws.
Next, we need our vanilla to give our cookies just a little extra flavor. The vanilla is like the people you meet along your way. You're influenced just a little bit by each person you come in contact with, from the cashier at the store or someone who gave a speech. You're influenced just a little bit by the actions they display when you come in contact with them.
Now lastly is our chocolate chips. This is what everyone wants. This is like money and jobs. To get a good job that will be able to support you and your possible family, you need to go to school, which is also very important. Everyone needs money. Everyone needs a job.
All right, so now let's mix all these ingredients together. This could get a little messy.
All of these ingredients work so good together. They all complement each other, and when all together, they create something wonderful. The journey you take to become a good citizen can get messy, as we have learned.
We're gonna let these bake for 10 minutes.
Well, dang Flavit, that was faster than the speed of light. And now, here we have a fresh batch of active, engaged, educated citizens.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and making a batch of steamy citizens.
Now that's one educated and engaged citizen.
Right
Back to you, Kian and Ethan.
These are terrible.
Nasty.
And action!
Oh,
These cookies are
incredible.
absolutely
They're
incredible.
So good.
Thanks, Hunter and Tania, not only for teaching us what an active and engaged citizen is made of, but also for these amazing cookies.
Yeah, there are definitely perks to being an active and engaged citizen.
Can I get something to wash this down?
Now that we are finished our cookies, we would like to introduce Micah with our next segment. She is on site at Turning the Tide bookstore. Take it away, Micah.
Hi, my name is Micah and I'm from Collective Voice in Saskatoon. I'm here with Peter from Turning the Tide, and we are here to talk about how the education system affects the citizens that we become. So Peter, how do you think the education system prepares youth to be active and engaged citizens? If not, why?
I think that the education system has changed to engage students more in sort of active citizenship over the years. When I was a student, it wasn't. I don't think that there was as much sort of thought being put into that kind of thing. It seems like now there's programs like Collective Voice. There's a number of other programs that are specifically sort of for students who are interested. But I think in some ways that's a problem, to have it being sort of specific programs, and for students to be selecting themselves to be sort of going into those sort of active, engaged citizenship. I think it should be sort of broader. I do know that there's more things like treaty education that are being put into the curriculum, and hopefully anti-oppressive education is sort of working its way in, although I think there's been quite a bit of resistance to that. And I think it's really important for students to be able to think critically about the world, and also to have sort of a basis of sort of understanding power and oppression and how that works, as well as I think understanding some of the key issues. And because I think a lot of these issues are quite they're things that divide people, and in a lot of ways teachers will sometimes avoid those issues, talking about those issues, because they are divisive. But I think in some ways we need to talk about them, and we need to be able to sort of hear different perspectives and to really think critically about those.
Well, thank you so much. How do you think school has affected your role in the community?
I think in a lot of ways, like I was saying, when I went to school, it was a while ago now, but we started to talk about things in high school, like environmental issues, but it was always sort of going to what was safe. It's like, we were talking about recycling when it came to the environment. We weren't talking a lot about climate change and those kinds of things, and kind of getting really deeply into the issues. And we learned about some social issues, but nothing that controversial. So it really took until I was in university and really exposed to sort of critical thinking and philosophy, sociology, until I started to be kind of exposed to the ideas, and then the kind of independent learning that I did on my own. I also was really involved with the independent music scene, and promoting punk shows, and through punk shows I got sort of exposed to politics through the music, and a lot of the bands were sort of talking about a lot of different social issues. And so that's kind of how I came to be more aware of what was going on, and then I really felt a passion for it, and that kind of made its way into starting this project about 18 years ago now, and opening the bookstore in 2003. So yeah, it's been a journey.
That's awesome. Do you think that the school system has influenced the citizen that you've become?
I think it did. Within the school system, I think I learned how to be a decent person and treat other people with, dignity and respect. I had some really great teachers over the years, and I don't, I certainly am not critical of them in the way that they educated, but I didn't get that sort of, I don't feel like I got as much of the critical thinking in my education that I received when I was more in university. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
We really appreciate it. This has been Peter at Turning the Tide Off-Broadway. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we're back.
Thanks for that great segment, Micah. It's great to learn that others in the community are staying up to date with what they are passionate about and being active and engaged citizens.
Our next segment will feature Megan, who found inspiration in the courageous acts of the survivors of the Florida school shooting.
I'm Megan, and today I'll be talking about the courageous acts that students have been doing since the Florida shooting. For anyone who doesn't know, the Florida shooting took place on February 14th at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. There was a total of 17 deaths and another 14 students wounded. I will be talking about how the survivors of this horrific event took a stand and organized 2 different protests that are scheduled to take place mid-March. By taking a stand, the students of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School are raising awareness and showing the qualities of active and engaged citizens. The first event is known as the National School Walkout. The Women's March Youth Empowerment Group is planning a school walkout that will take place all across the United States at 10 a.m. on March 14th. Organizers are encouraging students, teachers, administrators, parents, and anyone else to walk out for 17 minutes, 1 minute for each person killed at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. The main slogan of this protest is "Enough is Enough," which is addressing the problematic gun laws in the United States. These students, activists turn to rallies, protests, school walkouts to help change the weapon laws. Even though they can't vote just yet, they have other methods to get the message across that can be more successful in raising awareness than voting. The second event is the March for Our Lives rally. The event will take place on March 24th in Washington, D.C. The goal for this rally is very similar to the National School Walkouts. It is to demand that their lives and safety become a priority and that we need to end gun violence and mass shootings in our schools. The rally is so that the government gets the message directly from the students instead of through reporters and news media. The March for Our Lives rally will be right in Washington, D.C., making it hard for the government to ignore. The courageous acts of these student activists show that they are active and engaged citizens who are spreading their inspiration to others. By standing up for what they believe in and sharing their informed opinions, they are bit by bit making the world a better place. That's all for me. Back to you, Ethan and Kian.
Thanks for that inspiring segment, Megan. It was really incredible what they did after the extreme hardship.
It makes me wonder, what can we do in our schools to be more active in our society?
Up next, we have Miles and Karina interviewing a teacher from Aden Bowman, Mr. Jeff Spear.
Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Kian and Ethan.
Now we'll be interviewing Mr. Spear, the IB teacher at Aden Bowman and proud husband and father of 3 children.
So first off, tell us a little bit about the IB program.
The IB program is an international program which offers programming across the world. Students have an opportunity to take the theory of knowledge, the CAS component, as well as the extended essay, while choosing 6 different classes to complete their IB program, IB diploma. The goal is to foster international mindedness and to build on what we call the learner profile traits to develop well-rounded, globally minded students.
That sounds great. So our first question is about your opinion. In your opinion, what makes a good citizen?
I think the most important attribute of a good citizen is a citizen who is critically minded, who asks good questions, while at the same time reflecting on their own practices and leading by example rather than waiting for others to do what they believe to be right first.
Okay. Our next question is, do you think that schools are doing a good job of teaching students about citizenship?
I do think that the space is available. I think that it is one of the challenges that many teachers have, trying to integrate critical thinking skills and developing a space for open-mindedness, given the rigors of what we're trying to achieve, and ensuring that our students are capable at reading and writing. And in order to be critical-minded, we need to create a space where students ask good questions. And a lot of times we need to model that as teachers. And so I think the space is there. I think we're a work in progress.
Do you think that we should learn in school, that what we learn in school is important and will benefit us later in life?
I do believe that. I don't think that you can be a teacher and take on the role of being an educator unless you fully believe in what public education is about. I am a very, very strong advocate for public education and ensuring that all members of our society have the opportunity to receive a publicly funded education in which we do develop critical thinkers from a very, very young age, and also create the space where students can kind of develop those skills. Is there areas for improvement? Absolutely. But I do feel as an educator that I do believe in it, I think is the short of it.
A lot of teachers will say that the things we learn in school are helping us learn to learn. Would you agree with this statement? I
absolutely agree with creating an environment for lifelong learners. I think that it is really, really critical. As you mentioned, Miles, I am a father. I think about it quite regularly in my classroom and how I'm trying to articulate ideas and create spaces for students, and knowing that my own children are going through school right now, I think that the formative years of students' education really does provide a foundation, and I think it's the work that elementary educators doing is phenomenal work. It's very challenging, but I do think that creating that space where students can read, write, ask questions from a very, very young age is really, really critical. And I think that wonderment, I know that you guys in Collective Voice, it's a pretty spectacular opportunity that you have where you get to step back and think about the wonder of where we live and that around us. So I do think this space is available. I do think that we do learn to learn, and we are trying to create lifelong learners. But I think that I always tell my students that a child's education kind of has three legs, right? You have the student kind of plays a role in it, the educators play a role in it, and the family and the kind of community play a role in it. And I think if we are really open about the role that we all play and we work as a team, then we can kind of foster that lifelong learning.
What do you think about our current school curriculum? Do you think it should be changed or altered? And if so, how would you change it?
This is a question that I actually pose to my students, and I teach a class called Theory of Knowledge, and one of the very first days of that class, I ask students to develop what they think would be the most empowering curriculum to create knowing, globally minded citizens. And a lot of the responses that they get and that we talk about are similar to what we have, but I do think, I'm a little biased in this because I teach the Theory of Knowledge, I do believe that there should be a required class that ask students to think about thinking, metacognition, where from the formative years up into the high school, there is an opportunity for students to really step back and ask the questions of, what do I know and how do I know it? Because I think students sometimes are not really critical of how they learn. And with that, they start to look at all of their learning in the classroom and outside of the classroom in a different fashion. So that would be one thing that I think could be integrated a little bit more, purposefully.
What are some small changes that people can make in their daily lives to become a better citizen?
This may sound a bit ridiculous, but I think to slow down. I think we need to kind of to use a cliche, kind of step back and smell the roses. I think that we are constantly trying to stay afloat with what information is out there, and we're not really thinking about it. So I think that that's one really, really important thing that students and citizens can do on a daily basis is step back and ask some questions. Why is this the way it is? Some of the things I pose to my students in class, in my history class is, if you're wondering why an event happened, step back and try to put yourself in the shoes of the decision makers. Okay, what's the political decision making, the economic, the social? What's the impacts of these things? And I don't think we as citizens are doing a really great job of that. We are constantly inundated with information. I know. We live in a world where we have access to information, but I don't know if we have the skills or we take the time to really step back and analyze where's this information coming from? Is it valid? Who's saying it? What's the purpose, right? And asking those types of questions. So I think as a citizen, it's our job to ask questions of our leadership, ask questions of our fellow citizens. Why is this happening? Is this the best step moving forward? And also look back and kind of learn from the past. I think that as a citizen is a really, really critical thing. Be open-minded. I joke sometimes with my students, right? You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? We should kind of listen twice as much as we talk. Sometimes we want to get our ideas out there and we don't listen to others. And I think that if we took that to heart a little bit more, I think that it would have a really, really profound impact on our citizenship and how we interact with each other.
So you would say that being a better listener would make you a better citizen?
I think it's a skill that we have lost, and I think that can be attributed to the speed that which we're kind of living in. We don't slow down very much. We don't step back and see the big picture. We're focused on the day, right, and trying to understand what's coming at us. And sometimes we need to just slow down, take in less, and ask more questions.
Thanks for coming down to do this interview with us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Back to you, Keen and Ethan.
As our show nears the end, we want to leave you with some questions to think about and leave you wondering how you can be an active and engaged citizen.
Does your classroom and school more closely resemble a democracy or dictatorship? What would it look like for your classroom to operate on democratic principles?
Are schools doing enough to teach what active and engaged citizenship looks like? What changes would you suggest?
Does your teacher intentionally include citizenship education in your classroom? If not, would you feel comfortable introducing your teacher to the Consensus Citizenship Education resources?
With those questions in mind, we hope you not only learned from our show, but enjoyed watching what us and others had to say.
Thanks to our guests, Daisy, Ty, Peter Garden, and Mr. Spear, for deepening our understanding of what active citizenship looks like. So now you know what kind of citizens our schools try to make.
Those are some complicated questions.
Good thing we don't need to answer them.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.